Hi, what happened to your eye?
My ex-boyfriend.
This moment sets the emotional tone immediately a victim entering court after clear abuse. It's heartbreaking, but it also reminds us how often judges see victims still navigating trauma while dealing with legal issues. Viewer show, do you think a judge balances compassion with the need to stay impartial here?
I'm so sorry. I hope you're giving her information of how to take care of that.
I've talked to her about that and Your Honor, we have a sensitive subject that we need to bring up today as well.
All right. If you all will meet me in the hallway, I'll talk to you in the hallway. Just have a seat.
Thank you.
If you'll have a seat, counsel, and I'll speak to attorneys. Nice to meet you
hall.
too. So you're the father?
I am.
Okay. All right. So this is what I always tell parents. And I used to be a defense attorney, so I know how it is with parents. When parents have children, their child can be 30, their child can be 40, that's still their baby, and they want to be involved. And it's especially true when you have a child who is young, 17, 18. But here's the thing.
This is a powerful legal boundary. Once an attorney is hired for a child, the parent's influence must stop at the payment. Why? Because attorney-client privilege only protects private talks between the lawyer and the client at the parent. The judge is dropping wisdom here that many families overlook in real cases.
In this world, they're all considered adults.
Okay.
And when they have an attorney or something, the relationship is between them and their attorney. I used to have to tell parents all the time because sometimes the parents would hire me. And I used to have to sit down with parents and say, hey, you've hired me, you're paying me, but that's the end of our relationship. You can't be a part of discussions I have with my client because guess what? I would tell them, if you're a part of discussions I have with my client, then there's no attorney-client privilege. And you know what ends up happening with that? When there's no attorney-client privilege, guess what? You can be called as a witness. Anybody who's in that room having a conversation, it's all fair game. They can be called as a witness. And maybe sometimes there is something that maybe a client wants only their attorney to know, and they don't want other people to know. But when parents are in the room, guess what? That all goes by the wayside. And sometimes we have to let our children go and let our children be adults. So on this side of the fence, I would always tell parents, it's great. I need you to be supportive. I need you to make sure that my client, your child, is keeping their mental health great. They know that everybody is rooting for them and are a part of their team. And I would tell them, but that's where it ends. And it can't go past that because when it does, there's an issue. And let me just tell you my experience with one case I had in the past. Had this client very young. Mother wanted to be 100% in the conversations, even though I would tell them, hey, you shouldn't be in this conversation and you cannot be talking to your child about what happened because guess what? You can be called as a witness. They wouldn't listen to me. And so when it came time to do a plea bargain agreement, the parent is in the hallway. And I can tell you this because they were in the hallway shouting. So everybody heard. So it's not confidential. So they're like, I want my child to do A, B, and C. And, I told them, I said, that's your child's choice. Because guess what? If your child chooses A, B, or C, and if something ends up happening and they end up going to prison, the judge is not going to say, you know what? Your child only chose A, B, and C because of you. So we're going to let you suffer the consequences. You understand?
I do.
And for some reason with attorneys, people assume that being an attorney is easy and being a doctor is so much differently. Because if you go to see a doctor and you get a second opinion and a doctor tells you, oh yeah, your child needs a heart transplant, or oh yeah, we need to take the appendix out. A parent doesn't go to that doctor and say, well, I want to look at everything and let me just tell you how I think this appendix should be taken out. The person depends on the doctor, that the doctor knows what they're doing. And that's the same case. That's the same situation with these cases. And everybody needs to understand that. Cannot be crossing lines. Does everybody understand? Understand?
I understand.
All right. So that's the way it's going to be. So this is what's going to end up happening. We are going to come back And we're going to come back on June 27th. Counsel, is that enough time?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor.
All right. So we're coming back on June 27th. And let me just tell you the way this court is
Oh,
run.
well, you say 27th or 22nd?
27th.
I am double booked. I've got a hearing on the 27th.
Okay.
But
All right. We can bring it back on the 24th.
yes, thank you.
All right. So we're going to come back on June 24th. This is the way things run in this court. I make sure that everybody has the discovery. So when the defense counsel and everybody tells me I've received all the discovery, next thing I do, I require the state to tender an offer to the defense. And the defense has an ethical and legal obligation to tender that offer to their client and tell their client what the consequences are of the offer. Then I give everybody a plea deadline date because I want people to think about whether they want to accept the plea or not accept the plea. If they decide not to accept the plea, when I give them the plea deadline date, then that plea deadline date has expired and the next setting is going to be a jury trial. And if somebody after that plea deadline date has expired decide, oh,
And here it is, turning point of the exchange. The father tries to quote legal codes, but the judge shuts it down firmly. This is a textbook example of why courtrooms run on expertise, not emotion. She's drawing a line between parental concern and legal overreach. Have you ever seen a parent unintentionally make things worse by trying to help too much?
gosh, I don't want to go to trial. The only way I'll accept a plea is for good cause. Otherwise, they'll have to plea open to the court. All right, everybody understand? Any questions, Dad?
I do have one
Sure.
question, Judge.
Yes.
When your child has a serious, persistent mental illness and a developmental disorder, and that is recognized and should be recognized early on in the Article 1622 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. And there's been multiple suicide attempts.
All right, let me stop you right there. So here's the thing. With regards to that, that is something for her attorney to address. What you should do as a parent is turn information over to the defense attorney if you think it's something that she needs to know or is something that her client wants her to know. You understand? So here's the thing, you got to cut the string. And when I say cut the string in the court, I mean cut the cord as in your daughter and her attorney need to be able to have conversations in private. Now, if her attorney wants information from you, then the attorney will ask you, say, hey, I need some information from you. These are records. Maybe I need these records. I'm trying to get these records. Do you have these records? This is something that I want to view. That's completely up to the attorney. But what you're telling me right now and quoting code sections to me, guess what that tells me? You're trying to be an attorney and you're not an attorney. Did you go to law school?
I didn't go to law school.
So there's the thing. People think that they can read penal codes. They can read the Code of Criminal Procedure and that's it. And not to step on anybody's toes, but for criminal law, when you're practicing criminal law, you know what your Bible is? Your Bible for your profession is this book. And you see how thick this book is? And so if I were not an attorney, guess what? I would see one section and I'm like, oh, that section says that. D is for done. But that's not the way it works. This entire code, guess what? You may read something in this section and still you have to go to this section because it all relates to it. It's similar to the Bible. And let me bring the Bible up for you. Some people will just read one section of the Bible and guess what? When you read that one section, that same person who is